Thank you so much for your introduction. So hi, everyone. I am so honored to be with you here today on the World Logic Day. And thank you, John, again, but also Chelsea and Chris for making this day happen. And very excited to talk about mindful leadership and to contribute to the SDGs of 3, 4, and 8, which is all about well-being, learning, and also improving the workplace culture. So before I start with mindful leadership, I just like to give you a little bit of background. So imagine a world that you grow up in, and this was the world that I was grow up in. One world that was rooted in tradition and it was rooted in discipline and structure. And the other world was all about self-exploration and it was about discovering and expressing who you are. So I'm born and raised in the Netherlands to parents from Hong Kong. And every single day, it was a balancing act with my two older sisters. And at school, we were really encouraged to share our vision, to discover, and to really express ourselves. We were celebrated by expressing ourselves. And outside of school, as we were not having any homework until we went to high school. Every single day outside of school, we were taking our little bikes and just explore. We would roam the streets and find new places for us to play and doing all kinds of mischief like Dutch children do. And then we went home and it was a completely different world. It was a place that was ruled by a very strict tiger mom. We were living in a world where we had to be obedient daughters, and it was her opinion or not any other opinion. And while we don't have homework for our Dutch school, we had our weekly Chinese school. So imagine a 6 years old learning characters that are up to 36 different strokes. And that was just a portion of a character of a word. And those 36 strokes had to be written in the right sequence even. So at a young age, these two worlds didn't just contradict, they collided. And I was growing up with this feeling that I wasn't enough. And I had to prove myself that I am a good daughter, that I was good enough, and that I was a good, obedient Chinese daughter. And this feeling of not belonging and this feeling of never being enough, I took that with me even far into when I was having my career. So fast forward 19 years of L'Oreal. So I spent 19 years in the luxury beauty industry. And at the age of 30 years old, I was a marketing intern turned to general manager, promoted 8 different times in a decade. So as a young GM of 30 years old, from the outside, I had it all. I had a private driver, I had an apartment, I had everything well on paper. But beneath that surface, I was lost. I was lonely. I felt completely out of place. So even though I was praised of my business results and being praised of building the team and for the team to be in place and everything running smoothly, I knew after 3 years of being there in Vietnam, I knew I had to take a step back. So I packed my 2 suitcases and moved to Manhattan, a place where it's pure chaos, but also a place where everyone was chasing their dreams. And it was in this place that I found my calm and my peace. And every single day, I was practicing yoga, I was learning about integrative health, and I had this special book with me that I brought with me when I would take a train ride or when I had time. It was the book that I found before I left Asia, which is from Thich Nhat Hanh. It was a serendipitous moment for me to even find the book. And this book is Peace is Every Breath. So not only did I read the book, I was underlining it, circling it, and really practicing all the pages of the book. And every day while I was practicing yoga and healthy eating, I wasn't deliberately doing that. I was filling up the time because I had time as I wasn't working. And the moment that I was practicing that, coupled with mindfulness, I started learning about the science of happiness. the science of high performance, because I wanted how I felt to be validated by data. And that's when I learned that whatever we do intentionally every single day is correlating to how we feel, how we act, and to ultimately how we lead. And for me, there was such a big epiphany that when I understood that how we show up every single day is how we lead, that's how I understood how I felt miserable when I was the leader at such a young age and not embracing what I knew in that moment. So for the rest of the presentation, I'd just like to share my slide as you can follow with me as we're going to dive into mindful leadership. But first of all, I'd like to give the definition of leadership. So Brendon Burchard, who is a best-selling author, a coach, a leading researcher when it comes to high performance, and he's done this research in 180 countries, he defines leadership as constantly expressing your vision, values, and goals while inspiring others to achieve their own greatness. So having this in mind, it's just for us to realize that we have such a big responsibility. Because when you look at further data, and this is from Gallup, that is a global research and consultancy firm, they found that 67% of the workforce, they feel disengaged. They are not motivated at work. And what we have learned is that how you feel every day in, day out, month in, month out, that becomes your life. So for 67% of the workforce to feel disengaged, that's a crisis. Then what Gallup has found is that 70% of the variance of employee engagement is tied to the quality of leadership. So poor leadership, it's not a management issue, it's a global challenge that's leading to a loss of annually nearly $9 trillion. And this is a fact that we as leaders have to take to heart, because this means that if you are a leader, even if you're managing one person, you have the responsibility to be better, because that's our responsibility. So when we think about this responsibility of being better as a leader, with everything that is about change and sustainable transformation, it all starts with yourself. It starts with your own awareness, awareness of who you are, awareness of what you stand for, and awareness of the impact that you actually make to people's lives. So with this awareness, I like to pivot therefore to mindfulness. Because now that we understand what leadership means, what does mindfulness mean? And a lot of people, myself included, before studying mindfulness and becoming a mindfulness teacher, always thought practicing mindfulness is to not have any thoughts. It's for us to sit still and to push away our feelings and thoughts, and it's hard and I don't like it. However, at its core, mindfulness means to be present, to practice being in the moment. Mindfulness means to be aware of your thoughts, your surroundings, and the actions in the moment. And the reason why mindfulness is so important in leadership is that neuroscience shows that 95% of our brain activity is subconscious. So that means that our emotions, behavior, and our decisions are dependent on our subconscious mind. So if we don't raise our consciousness, if we don't practice mindfulness, we are thinking and acting and deciding without ourselves really knowing what it is that we do. And the importance of mindfulness is the fact that mindfulness is the true bridge between knowing and acting. Because knowledge itself, if you don't use it, it's just data, it's just information. And how much information do we have? If we lack information, we just grab our phone and we will have the data. Data becomes knowledge once you internalize it, when you recognize it. But still, that doesn't lead to transformation. So let me give you an example as we're talking about leadership. So you are a leader, and especially if you're a leader in the corporate space, you get your leadership behavior survey. Every single year, you're being reminded of your blind spots. You're being rated about your behavior. So let's take, for example, the behavior that you're not valuing the people. The team doesn't feel valued. And in the open feedback below the survey, the team actually gives you feedback. I don't feel valued because you keep interrupt me during a meeting. So you have this knowledge and you're thanking the team when you're doing the sharing, you're thanking the team and you tell them that you'll work on it. But even that doesn't do anything and doesn't lead to transformation until you're catching yourself in the moment, in the meeting, you catch yourself about to jump in, and then you pause. The moment that you stop, reflect, and choose to take a step back and not jump in, but actually listen. And when you repeat that and when you do that over and over again, that's when you improve. But that's also the moment that the team is understanding that you are here to change. You do have what it takes to be a better leader because they see that you are practicing, and that's when trust is being built. Then mindfulness goes further than in the moment awareness because it's to be mindful of the values that is guiding us, that is guiding the leader. And these values are not just for your own well-being or for your own success. These are the values that are for the collective good and the collective good of the team. But what are these values further? And this is when I like to introduce the principles of insight in meditation. Let me just let Emily in, who's waiting in the waiting room. So these are the principles of insight meditation, which is non-judgment, non-comparison, and non-fixing. And when I got introduced to these principles, I was actually at a silent insight Vipassana retreat. It's a week-long retreat where we don't talk, not even eye contact, because eye contact is communication. We are not allowed to read. We are not allowed to bring our pen and paper. So for a whole week, we were sitting in silence and meditating. And it was on day 3 or day 4 that we were introduced to these principles. And for that full hour, so we were meditating around 10 hours a day. And that full hour of meditating on these 3 principles, for me, it was just such an aha moment because that was the moment that I realized that as a human being, but also as a leader, how often is it that we are judging other people? And we are not only judging the moment that we are verbally judging out loud. Judging very often happens in our own mind. Our thoughts are judging thoughts. But then it's not just judging others. We are judging other people. We are constantly, from people, judging ourselves, and we are our worst critic. Every single day, we are beating ourselves up, and it's something that subconsciously that we do. And then we have comparing. And as a leader, we are often putting 2 team members like against each other because competition is healthy, but it also breaks their motivation to be better because you are tapping into their insecurity. And then once they are happy with a success or something that they have achieved, you're comparing their results to the results of a competitor. And then we have fixing. And how often is it, which is true, as a leader, I jump in to fix. And of course, you can say, but Pauline, as a leader, of course, I have to fix things when I see that it's wrong. But that is the difference as a mindful leader. It's not about you fixing things, it's about the team fixing things. And as a mindful leader, we have to take that step back and let the team fix the problem, find the solution. So our role is to guide them with reflective questions, maybe some challenges, but we are not giving them the answer. We are guiding them so they believe they found the solution. And the moment that they believe that they come up with the idea, the solution, they're so much more motivated to actually work on the project. And when they actually have a success with the project, they truly celebrate. They feel fulfilled. They feel engaged because it was their work. They're not gaining success because they simply execute what you told them to do. And that's the difference of being a mindful leader. So when it comes to true transformation, and as I mentioned, it really starts with you yourself, is that we have to acknowledge that it is about our own well-being as well. And this is something that we have to take in mind, that on average, what Gallup has also found is that when you are a leader, on average, you actually feel more stressed than individual contributors. So when you are practicing mindfulness alongside the principles that I just mentioned, it's very important for you to embrace the different attitudes. And this is when the work of Jon Kabat-Zinn comes in. Jon Kabat-Zinn is a professor and a leading researcher on the health benefits of meditation. And he's the founder of the mindfulness-based stress reduction program. And this program is this amazing framework that you see here on the right, the 9 attitudes of mindfulness. And these 9 are actually the best to live life because they are truly tools for you, not just to be aware, but for you to gain a new perspective, a fresh perspective, and the right perspective for the well-being for yourself and others. But when it comes to mindful leadership, and with the time that we have left, but also to stay very relevant to the topic, let me start with the beginner's mind. So what does the beginner's mind mean? Beginner's mind is to approach every moment with curiosity, as if you were seeing it for the first time. So when you have a beginner's mind, you are this forever student. And when you are a student, you are not up here and the team is down here. When you are a student, you are at the level as your team because you are not the expert. The team is executing things every single day. They know their niche. You are a generalist. You are here to have vision and to give clarity and calm. It's the team who are experts and they're the ones executing. So when you have this forever student mind, you're letting go that you know it all and that you know it better, but you're also letting go to prove that you know it all. And this is especially important, not just with your team, but when you are in the room with your peers, because your peers, your partners are as important for you to have collective success in the company. And whenever you feel stuck or you don't fully grasp this beginner's mind, ask yourself, what might I discover if I let go of what I think I know? So the moment that you do that, you realize that having a beginner's mind is to take yourself out of the equation. When you are a leader, it's not about yourself. It is when the team is not watching or when you are at home, because how you practice and be how you are at home is how you are at work. But when you're leading a team, when you're in a meeting, it's not about you. You have to take yourself out. And this ties back into the story, and that's why I was sharing a bit about my upbringing, is that we all have our stories. And the stories that we carry with you are forming our subconscious mind. So if I have lived every single year proving that I am worthy, that I'm good enough, then of course, as a leader, there is this insecurity still embedded in me. There is this imposter syndrome that I have to constantly show that I have the skills, and you want to show that. But that's when you have to take that moment, step back, and take yourself out. And when you are embracing this beginner's mind, you are lifting others, and at the same time, you are growing yourself. So let me go to now gratitude as we have 6 minutes left. So gratitude is another attitude that I really like us to review here, because gratitude isn't just an emotion, it's a true leadership practice. So Gallup has found that whenever a team is valued in the right way, so this is the same as a love language. It's not about you loving the person, it's about loving the person how they need to be loved. So gratitude or giving value to someone else is the same thing. How is it that they feel valued? In what way do they feel grateful and valued? And when you do that in the right way, the team feels 3.7 times more likely to feel motivated, engaged, and passionate with what they do. And then gratitude goes beyond you valuing the team. It's also about you being grateful for the role of leadership that you have, the impact that you have. And that just makes you truly humble. When you're grateful for the job that you have, that you've been given this opportunity to have not just the impact in business, but the impact in people's lives, then whenever you are stressed and have this moment of gratitude, it shifts your perspective from pressure to purpose, that you are living out your purpose, serving the team, helping them to rise, helping them to feel better, and be their best selves. You have a serving role, and that's something that gratitude truly can do for you. So when I like to summarize and to end this talk and to give you a few takeaways, so mindful leadership is about showing up in the moment and making decisions consciously with clarity, purpose, and really taking aligned actions that are true to your values and the values that are lifting the collective well-being. And mindfulness is about creating trust, not through perfection, because nobody is perfect. And my story is not unique. I'm sure every single person has either an upbringing or things that they have experienced throughout their adult or childhood years that are scars or maybe traumas. But it's our responsibility to work through that and to recognize that and to set that aside and for us to heal so that we can help and serve. Because when it comes to mindful leadership, it's not being perfect. It's to show up and to show consistency and to do what you say, because that's when you create trust in the workplace. So mindful leadership is just like your breath, the rhythm of your breath. It's the rhythm of decisive action and non-action. And it's the moment of non-action that you have time to reflect and to align with strategic vision, with facts, with logic, with what is true and what is right. And this non-action is really something important for us to take with us as a leader, is that leadership isn't about doing, it's about being. It's for us to be more present, to be more intentional, and to be a source of calm and clarity in the world that need it the most. And when you lead mindfully, you just are not only moving the team forward, you're creating a ripple of positive and equitable impact that extends far beyond the workplace. Thank you so much.